So plantar fasciitis, or pain in the bottom of the foot itself, can have many causes, and there's a lot of things that we're looking for on the clinical side to really try to figure out what's going on. So kind of a reminder, plantar fasciitis, the plantar fascia itself is this big, strong band that sits on the foot. So we take away the skin, we take the layer of the fat that's in our foot, and we get to this next thing, this big, giant, honking thing here called the plantar fascia. Plantar fasciitis is a inflammation, it's a swelling, it's a tenderness somewhere in this plantar fascia, and that's a true plantar fasciitis. A lot of times we see people who have foot pain that's not plantar fasciitis, they just call it that, or someone else has called it that without really doing a great workup. And that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, but that's for a different video for a different day. But what we're looking for on the clinical side, so last time we covered, is your plantar fascia, or is your foot pain coming, from your low back? If you're having pain here and we start moving your low back around and we can make the pain go away here, you didn't have foot pain, you had a stealth low back problem, and that was actually what was causing the issue. So today we're looking for, one of the other things we're looking at is the side of symptoms, what's going on with the toes. So we can kind of see my feet down here. I apologize, I have ugly feet. But one of the things we're looking for, so if we said I had issues on this side, and the person came in and they had these little things going on where their toes were just naturally at rest, curled up like this is called a hammer toe. This is an overactivation of a muscle called the flexor digitorum brevis. So it's the, take off our plantar fascia. The flexor digitorum brevis is the next muscle down in the foot itself. So what this muscle's job is, if people who have plantar fascia or have done exercises and stuff like that in PT, or they've found exercises on social media, they'll sometimes do towel scrunches. So they take a towel, they put it underneath their toes, and they scrunch it up like this over and over and over, using the crap out of their flexor digitorum brevis. That's not a wrong exercise because we want that muscle to be nice and strong, but a lot of times what's actually going on with the hammer toe is we're having a harder time activating the flexor digitorum brevis's bigger brother, the flexor digitorum longus. There's no quizzes on these names. They're just what they're called. Whenever they picked these names way back when, they didn't really get that creative. The flexor digitorum flexes the digits. Flexor digitorum longus is the longer one that flexes the digits. But he's a lot of times not quite as active as the flexor digitorum brevis is, and he's the one we really want to start getting moving and motivated to actually start doing his job, because flexor digitorum brevis actually offloads the work of the plantar fascia when it's working properly and when it's strong. So one of the issues we see breaking down wise in athletes and in people who have been doing a bunch of running and stuff like that sometimes is the weakness in the flexor digitorum brevis, but usually it's a little bit more of a breakdown of flexor digitorum longus. And here in a minute we're going to go over that. But remember, hammer toes, scrunched up toes at rest that look like this, can actually slowly start to work themselves out. You can work on some mobility stuff. You can really start to work on lengthening the toes again to relax. There's some just basic home mobilization things we can do with that. But the big thing we work on the clinic here is actually starting to fire and get the flexor digitorum longus working. So we're going to pause briefly. I'm going to show you what flexor digitorum longus working correctly is like. Once again, guys, I apologize for my feet, but they're the only ones I have available. So one of the things we're looking for, and an issue with plantar fasciitis, if we're checking specifically for some muscles not firing or doing their full job, is we're going to have somebody, this is usually done standing, but for demonstration purposes, I have my knee bent on the table. We're going to have them lean forward, and we're going to start to look for what's called the wink sign. You can see right in through here in these joints that the toes start to wink, or they start to curl. That is the activation of that big muscle, the flexor digitorum longus, that we want. If we can see that and we see it's functioning well, then we know that may or may not be a big issue. But if we're trying to do that on the side that has the hammer toes, we're up like this, and we don't see a wink sign, they're just going to stay hammered when we still try to go like this. So that's showing us that guy's not kicking in and it's not doing its full job. Now, when the flexor digitorum longus, which runs all the way up to the back of the calves, isn't doing his job, that can start to overload the plantar fascia and truly cause plantar fasciitis. So one of the ways we can start to fire the flexor digitorum longus is we start to do what's called a Vele lunge, or a Vele wall lean. I'm not sure who Vele was. It's a V-E-L-E. I'm sure he's a great guy, very smart guy. But this exercise was created with him. So you're going to stay up nice and tall. You're going to move only through your ankles, and you're going to lean forward until you start to see the toes winking down, or you start to see the very tips of them starting to dig in. If we start to see them hammering up, we know we're firing that flexor digitorum brevis, and we're not quite getting the right muscles going. If we see them winking down, we know we're starting to fire that flexor digitorum longus, which is also responsible for fall prevention as we get older, which is a reason we really want to keep our feet and toes and calves nice and strong so we have less chance of a falling forward accident as we age. But that's a different story for a different day. So one of the exercises we can actually start doing It's just very simply like leaning forward and getting the toes to wink and hold that for time. However, I'm kind of impatient. I like to do some other stuff because we have short visit limits, and sometimes that just doesn't quite cut it in the clinic. So we break out human locomotion's Toe Pro. With the Toe Pro, we have a few different options to use this, but we'll just commonly use it as the main option. We're going to go toes up in the main channel of the Toe Pro itself. We're going to use the wall for balance and support. To help activate that flexor digitorum longus, we're going to press the toes in and cause the toes to wink down. And as we do that, we're going to raise up. And as we raise up, we're going to switch our weight to the inside portion of the foot that then fires another friend of ours called peroneus longus, which brings us to the big toe, which is responsible for toe off and push off when we're running, jumping, all that fun stuff. And then we lower ourselves back down. We let everything relax. We push back down. We raise up and repeat. Push in, raise up, switch the weight to the inside part of the foot, stay on the inside part of the foot, slowly lower yourself down, and repeat. And we do this for a set number of sets and reps. If this is somebody who is just starting to work the toe strength, if this is someone who's just starting to work on toe strength, if this is kind of like week 1, week 2 of rehab, this might be some exercise with the Toe Pro. We only have them perform 1 set a day of maybe 10 to 15 reps. We might have them go as many reps as they can once per day for a week or 2 until they can start building on either some extra reps, or we're going to get in a couple extra sets and reps per day. So really it's individual to the person, to what they can stand, what they can tolerate. Are they getting lit up during the exercise? Are they getting lit up after? Are they getting lit up the next day? We want to make sure that we're mitigating any flare-ups and anything like that during their rehab process. And we're also just not trying to overload stuff and get too much things firing too quickly, just to basically set the patient off. Our whole goal is to get you stronger, get you feel better, and get things gradually calm down as we go. So that is one of our resources that we use at Toe Pro. We love this thing, humanlocomotion.org. But also, this is what we're looking at for a true plantar fasciitis case. We're looking to strengthen some muscles in the toes themselves. We're looking to make sure that we're not hammering the toes, because that's not a terrible exercise with the towel scrunches, but it's just not firing the big stuff we really, really need. To fire the big stuff, like I said, that's going to help offload the plantar fascia. And in a true plantar fasciitis case, this is what's going to help long-term make this go away and stay away. So if you're in Kansas City, you're having issues with plantar fasciitis, you're having issues with foot pain, please reach out. We'd love to help you out if you're in the area. And if not, please let us know. We'll try to get you hooked up with a good clinician somewhere.